Bum, 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 bum.
Harder Brunch presents Peep Show, Wednesday the 27th at the White Rabbit Cabaret.
We got stand up with Brent Hume, baby.
Live podcast from Harder Brunch.
And we got some burlesque.
We got a live peep eating contest.
And we got surprises and prizes.
Tickets are available at eventbrite.com.
I'm eating brunch with my people though. The homie Dyke just cooked up a feast and we bout to eat it, bro. Fucked around and has to mix the lobster with the poutine. Daddy is rolling blue dream. Them boys got down a routine. It's Naptown culture. Cooking 7 courses. Had to pass the torch and now I'm grabbing second portion. So sit back, relax, grab a drink and a smoke. It's Harder Brunch on the way and get prepared for the jokes. Whoa.
Hi, and welcome to the Harder Brunch Podcast. I'm your host, Dyke Michaels, and with me, as always, my co-host, Thaddaeus Mckee.
Slap it, pap it, wank, wank.
On the ones and twos, the wheels of steel, the sauce, boss of Indianapolis, and the last broke dragon. Give it up for Zach Rohn, everybody.
Everybody aboard the coffee train.
A very special returning champion with us in studio.
Yo, yo.
I feel like, has it been 2 years?
It's been a while, man.
Yeah,
I think
almost 2 years.
Feels like just yesterday, though.
From Tinker Coffee,
Yeah.
Steve Hall, welcome back to the program.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Now,
Wait, I thought it was the seafood boil.
Yeah.
was that
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, yeah.
2 years ago?
Have you been here 2 years? That's
Yeah.
crazy. All right. I'll believe it.
That's how time works.
It wasn't last summer. I kept
right.
wanting to make it last summer, but I was like,
Yeah.
I think it was actually, it was almost 2 years. Typically, at some point in the very first half of the episode, I always try to shoehorn in like, hey, remember that coffee we just had? It was really good, wasn't it? And everyone's like, it was great. But like, you know how good that coffee is because you are the guy that makes the coffee.
Yeah. Well, it is pretty good, thankfully. That's kind of our big job is to make really good coffee. So
You
glad
roast,
to hear we're
we
doing it.
boast.
Yeah,
That's
would
right,
you
okay.
would you like for Thad to do an impromptu commercial for you right
I would
now?
love that. Yeah, please.
All right.
Please, go
Oh,
for it.
you want
yeah.
me to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
if
show
it's
him
not too
the-
much trouble. Yeah.
Hi.
Hold on. Maybe give him a couple different options to choose from.
Okay. Let's say you want to make a
Me?
coffee that like was specifically for babies.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. Everybody needs coffee. Adults, older adults, and now babies, but not too much. So the new Bouche coffee for babies is going to be supported by Tinker. And you're going to like it. Don't worry about how they get it.
That's a wrap.
I think that was really bad.
I think it was on par.
I edited it like for like everybody that.
You went back on it a couple times in your mind, I saw.
Well, because
I heard the table version.
on the
and it was
table we were
different.
talking
It was a
about
lot
like
different.
we were talking about fetuses need coffee.
Yeah.
To get up.
We weren't. You were.
You were out there. Anyways, like babies need coffee, and so I was thinking, if women could get coffee sooner
In utero.
in utero, like in the placenta somehow, people will be happier.
I'm glad we managed to bring this from the table to the podcast.
I was
The
trying
one
not
thing.
to.
This is the one thing probably we didn't want to.
The one thing that
Yeah.
don't
there
talk
needs to be
about
more
this.
research about this. We need to
Yeah.
we need to have some people do some studies on caffeine effects
in
to the developing child.
I-
You might be
right.
onto something. You never know.
Exactly.
Let's let the science sort it out.
That's
you.
on the cutting edge.
He is.
What if it started giving kids like superpowers? Like, turns out if you get too much caffeine,
You get adult in a week.
they just age really quickly.
Well, yeah, like caffeinated embryos or something like that. Like, because like you want your baby to come out liking coffee, or they're a loser. Would you agree?
I mean, we let people do what they want.
I like
I believe in
that.
the freedom of choice, but
I like that. I like that.
do I judge a little bit? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, when people are like, I just like tea, you're like, get out of here.
All right, yeah.
Get out of my store.
That's cool, man.
Hit bricks.
Yeah.
I always obviously you're one of our main sponsors on this program, and I love bragging about Tinker because it really completely has ruined me for like regular coffee. And I will still drink regular coffee, don't get me wrong, but I never enjoy it. Yeah, like it's just almost like, well, I have to do this. So I've been trying to get better about being on the road, and I know that you guys sell like a machine pack, right? Like a single use.
It's like a little tea bag. Yeah.
Where do you sell those at? Because I've only ever seen them like at the headquarters.
Yeah, I think a few places carry them. Off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure which shops are carrying it. I feel like maybe the Foundry might have some. There's a few cafes, I think. Maybe a few, kind of specialty grocers that maybe carry it as well. But yeah, in the roastery and online. But we're working on an instant coffee
Really?
too, because I feel like
a Keurig?
not a Keurig, but like a pack that all you just need is hot water and dissolve and make a great cup. The steep packs are good. I feel like the quality's all right. It makes like a good French press style cup, which is great if you're on the road and you need something quick. I think sometimes the instant coffee quality is a little bit higher maybe than what you get from the steep pack. So
now, what do you have to do to make it instant? Is it freeze dried?
Yeah, generally they'll brew it and then freeze dry it, and then
Okay.
you've got this.
So you just
powder.
freeze dry like the liquid. You like lay it out on a sheet tray basically. To just scrape up the crystals afterwards.
So I know I asked the company that we're working with on it. I was like, so how do you guys do this? And they're like, well, we're not going to tell you that.
Oh,
but like there's a lot of proprietary
Proprietary,
stuff, but
yeah.
like it's freeze dried.
Wow.
So I don't know beyond
Man.
that, like exactly how. I think like you said, like a big sheet of brewed coffee.
This is what I want to do. Listen, what you're doing is amazing. You drive downtown, you see Tinker right there, like the big logo. I want to work for you, and I feel like we kind of do. But what I'm saying is, I would love to take a nice cup of coffee to every billionaire, and it's not like I'm trying to get. I want more people to buy into Tinker, is what I'm saying. So I want to go on a road trip, a Tinker road trip, where we're just try this coffee.
Okay.
And we'll.
And we pitch it to
Yeah,
billionaires.
I'm a billionaire. I'm walking down the street. I just left my billionaire job.
Your billionaire job.
I have my billionaire hats on.
Hey,
There's two of them.
yeah.
Yep.
Hey, sir.
Hey, I don't have time. I have to go do billionaire things.
Elevator pitch.
Yeah.
He's a man on the go.
You've got 15 seconds.
I know that you're trying to develop
There's 3 of
vaccines
them.
that are going to make you more money and possibly hurt more people. But what I'm
this
trying,
is a great start.
but
Vaccines.
before you do that, try this coffee. And then you're going to try it. You're going to be like, man, I've been kind of hurting the world.
Fuck,
I don't
you're
know.
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to come against billionaires. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. I want to go door to door. I want to be a Jehovah Witness type
I like
of
that, yeah.
person.
More of a
and get
religious
pe-
angle
yeah.
on it. Like,
I love that.
Yeah,
Not
and
try
they don't
this.
get paid.
Yeah.
So,
Jehovah Witnesses don't get paid?
I don't know. I'm assuming they're doing that, to spread the faith, right?
The love of the game.
I'm just saying I'm sold out for the coffee. You guys, I want to.
will
travel,
have
but-
expenses.
Conversation
We'll have
will be a
lots of
condition of
expenses.
employment here.
Yeah, we just need to do a 1 week Harder road trip from coast to coast and give people coffee that we think that will inspire people to drink more of this.
Why is why is Tinker coffee better than like what if I go to the store and get a bag of Cafe Du Monde and make it at home? Because it is like quantifiably more enjoyment, better, bolder taste, stronger.
Yeah, it's all sourcing, where the coffee comes from, the quality of the farm, the quality of the production, quality of the processing, plus, roasting is important. We always say that like you can't, it's like cooking too. You can't take a bunch of, bad ingredients and chef up something that's going to be as delicious as if you were getting a bunch of farm fresh vegetables, proteins, whatever, So like the raw ingredient has to be really good. And so a lot of times like in commodity kind of grocery store coffee, they're buying the bulk coffee that exists in the world.
Yeah.
A lot of coffees from Brazil, could be like more kind of factory harvested, not harvested by hand, not harvested when the cherries are ripe. All those factors go into quality. And ultimately, you got to start with a really good green bean and then roast it really well. So that's where I think that's one of our biggest differentiators is the sourcing strategy.
Nice.
And how we buy coffee.
Now, I've heard this before that maybe like a larger chain, we won't say their name, but it rhymes with far, Chuck's coffee. I've heard that that's like almost like scorched.
Carfax.
Like it's burnt or it's scorched, or like I've heard like coffee people say that it's like, is there something where like coffee can be roasted too long commercially, or is that just like one person's opinion, do you think?
I'm going into it.
Yeah, it's like a stylistic thing, you know. Like for us, we generally roast like medium style, and we want all of the individual characteristics of the coffees that we buy to like shine through that medium roast. We don't want the roast characteristics to overpower any of the unique flavor profiles of coffee. If we were to roast longer, if we were to roast, you know, like a classic French roast, dark roast, whatever, you know, a lot of those differences between the farms or between the countries of origin or whatever, those differences kind of get neutralized, and you're bringing out more of the roast characteristic through that darker roast. So for a company like Starbucks that has to buy a lot of different coffees from a lot of different places, they can roast it a little bit darker and get it all to kind of taste more uniform.
Oh,
That makes sense.
So it's more consistency. It's like we've got to get this product out into millions upon millions of people every single day.
Yeah.
Here's how we can kind of keep it consistent.
Yeah.
We can roast a little bit heavier.
Were you worried that Starbucks was going to watch this and they'd be like, "Hey, are they talking shit about my coffee?"
Cease.
I don't want to mess with nobody, you know. I don't want to.
Okay.
I also always feel this way, that it seems like Tinker Coffee has a lower acidity than a lot of other coffees that I've had. Like
He says it like a fact.
Well, I say it because it's like when I drink a lot of coffee, sometimes I'll be like that second or third cup and my stomach starts hurting. And I'm just like, and I just always attribute that to acid, I guess. And I never seem to have that problem with Tinker Coffee.
Yeah, I mean, we actually like acidity in coffee. You know, we're looking for it. So I wouldn't say that. I mean, I would hope that our coffee, you know, still has acidity present. I think it does. You know, certainly like the Ethiopian coffees grown at higher elevations. You know, some of our Colombian coffees, like the acidity, like the brightness is a selling point that we want in that coffee. Other coffees, like, you know, that are grown at lower elevations, or maybe, you know, Central South America, with our roast profile, we'd probably want to de-emphasize a little bit of that brightness. Still want to keep it in balance, but it's not as important as it would be with the coffee from, you know, Ethiopia, where you've got florals and, you know, interesting fruit characteristics, or maybe citrus fruit notes. Like, you want the acidity to be present in there.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think we necessarily, you know, are shying away from acidity at all. But if acidity is a problem, if you've identified, like, when I drink coffees that are higher acidity, it does hurt my stomach. Like, you can look for lower coffees grown at lower elevations. Generally, would be less acidic. So Brazil, you know, Central America, some places, you know, coffees that are grown between 800 and 1200 meters, let's say, you can be on the lookout for those.
When you say elevations, you mean like sea level?
Yeah, above
Okay.
sea level. Yeah, so 800 meters above sea level.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of the coffees like we get from Kenya, Ethiopia, could be like grown at like 2,000 meters.
And that
above sea
changes the acidity.
Yeah,
Like,
it changes the density of how the coffee's grown. It's, you know, at higher elevations, a little bit harder for the coffee to grow. And that's what you want. You want denser beans that have more kind of compacted flavor. You know, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of examples. We were talking about wine earlier and like the parallels.
Yeah.
Stressing
You know,
the vines and
Yeah,
stuff.
if the grapes are like, we got all the sunshine we want, we got all the rain we need, we're growing huge. Like, that's great, but there's no flavor in those grapes. So same thing, you want the coffee to grow, have all the nutrients it needs, but it needs to struggle a little bit so it stays smaller, higher density of flavor.
Have you noticed at all? Has climate change affected like your business as far as like sourcing beans, or like year to year, or is that not really a factor?
It has definitely affected the farm level. You know, there's a lot of talk about how, you know, coffee's generally grown in pretty hilly areas, and as climate change has, you know, happened over the course of, you know, decades, like certain insects that maybe didn't thrive at certain areas, certain elevations, have started to creep up, so they're having to kind of gradually find higher and higher places on farms to actually plant the coffee. So yeah, it's had a definite effect on the farming. I mean, just rainfall, you know, weather patterns, all of those things affect, you know, the agricultural side of coffee pretty significantly. So yeah, there's definitely some challenges more on the farming side.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
But like the other thing is, like, you go out and you meet your farmers, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah, I mean, in several instances we do. Yeah, we still
Yeah.
work with importers too, but we've got a group of guys going to Honduras, actually in a couple weeks now, to go hang out with some of the farmers that we know down there,
That's so cool.
and see the whole process. You know, I was mentioning to you, we got to go to Rwanda and meet some farmers there and see some of the washing stations in Rwanda. So that was really cool. We'd love to get to Nicaragua soon and go see Bayardo, one of the farmers that we work with directly down there. But yeah, we work with a lot of importers too. That help us get different coffees that we just wouldn't have access to otherwise. So good mix.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fun.
We did a special menu for you today in honor of you coming. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, was to incorporate Tinker Coffee into as many dishes as possible. So it made the most sense to do it for you. And I've done it before. I know I've done I did a Tinker Coffee cold brew cheesecake. The precursor to this show was Smash Indie, and it was collaborative chef dinners. And I remember I made like a cold brew cheesecake that was with Luxardo cherries. And I was just like, man, I'd love to try a whole coffee menu. And I'm sure people have done that before, right? Like done whole menus with Tinker Coffee before? Yeah,
I mean, whole menus. I mean, we did one. It was like, I guess it was kind of like a brunch kind of menu with Sun King. And they did, incorporated coffee into as many dishes as they could. That was pretty fun. A lot of people have done it for, like rubs like you did for, either pork belly or other barbecue, foods. You can do some pretty interesting rubs with coffee. So yeah, I think you probably did the most. You've incorporated into more dishes than maybe anyone today.
Well, I also had one on the food truck, which was one of my favorite specials we ever did. It was for the Halloween Fest, and it's funny because I was just thinking about this upstairs of how I remember thinking of you as like the new they're the new coffee guys, and now you guys have been around for like 10 years.
Yeah, it seems like a long time.
Only 10 years.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
But I remember we were set up next to each other at the skate shop, and so like people would come over and get coffee after the marathon or whatever, and then get a burger. And we had a bunch of like Halloween scary movie themed burgers for all of Halloween, and then we knew we were going to be with Tinker, so I made a Never Sleep Again burger, which was a coffee rubbed burger, and then it had a barbecue sauce dripping out of it, and on the display picture I had scored the top bun with 4 slash marks, so it looked like Freddy's glove. They got it. I was very proud of that one.
Yeah, there you go.
And so and we'll get to it, but I kind of that's kind of what inspired one of the dishes that we made today in my head. But
I have a question before you guys jump into the dishes. This is a question for you. It might be a little bit of a juicy question. I'd appreciate if you're honest.
Okay.
So in the movie Scarface, there's a guy that says never get high on your own supply. Forget who said that. Do you ever get tired of your coffee sometimes, or are you like, maybe I need to go to another coffee brand to try this out? Or I'm sorry, the dog did pass gas, and I'm trying to nail this question.
Stay strong.
It's going right up.
That's
my
the
nose.
worst dog ate my homework excuse I've ever heard.
Come on,
the dog farted, so I told a bad joke.
You guys don't understand what it's like having a dog underneath you, tunneling their gases in your nose while you're trying to interview. Anyways, we'll talk about this later. But do you ever try to go to different Dunkin' Donuts or different places to inspire yourself or your taste buds again?
So I generally drink my coffee at my house. However, if I ever go on a vacation or go somewhere for a weekend, I'm always going to a coffee shop to see what's what, and I'll generally bring a bag from, the roaster or coffee shop that I stop in. I'll bring it home, and, sometimes I'll bring it to the roastery and let everybody try it. Other times I'm just drinking it myself at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll mix in, different roasters.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a little espresso machine at home too, so it's fun to see what other companies are doing with their espresso blend. That's particularly fun for me. So yeah, I mix it up. But I mean, generally, if we're talking, every month, maybe there's 1 week where I'm not drinking my coffee, so I keep it fresh.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's so many. It's really fun to drink your own coffee at home, because then I can talk about whatever coffee I'm particularly enjoying at that time. So when someone comes in, I'm like, oh, I've actually been drinking this one a lot at home, and I'm really enjoying doing this or that with it, or getting this out of it. So it's really beneficial for me to get just really familiar and drink my coffee, really deeply for a while.
So get high on your own supply.
I do get high on my own supply.
You don't listen to Scarface. All right.
No, I do a lot.
See, on the opposite side of the spectrum, I lost my business because I was eating too much of my mustard.
Yeah.
Oh, was that?
It was really nasty. I almost
mustard.
lost my wife and everything. And it was a big mustard problem.
I don't mean to laugh. That's
Yeah. That was my mustard plug days.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
He was Dijoning out.
Yep.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, he stopped so he could catch up.
No, I didn't like that one.
Damn, that was good.
There's a catch-up pun. That's not what we were doing.
Mustard and ketchup kind of are brothers and sisters.
Now
Or
it's
they
time
are
for the
chimneys.
Smoking Goose Brunch Breakdown. Located at 407 Dorman Street. You know about Smoking Goose.
I know all about smoking goose.
They got one thing I'm really excited about for springtime, for Easter. They're doing a special rum ham.
Oh.
They got a rum infused ham.
Is that kind of like the... Yeah, all right.
I assume it's a nod to Always Sunny.
Okay.
But I love rum and I love ham. So go get you. If you really want to kick up your Easter, get a rum ham from Smoking Goose. First course was you.
So yeah, one of the things I wanted to do was red eye gravy. I've never made or had red eye gravy before, but it's one of the famous things I think of when I think about like coffee and cooking. And it's basically just like ham drippings and coffee. So I made a ham stock and put the which was the Monte Frio coffee in that one. Made a broth out of that. I did a little hash with some ham, some yellow potatoes, sweet potatoes, rutabaga, sweet potatoes, or sweet peppers. And then I poached an egg and then took some of the stock and made a glaze for the egg with some sriracha.
It was incredible. I'm a big breakfast food guy, and that was like exactly what I would eat that every single day. It was really, really good.
Thank you.
I love a good hash. I loved that poached egg was something different.
Yeah.
Like I really, really enjoyed the egg. What was the different sauce?
So I took when I made the ham stock, I took some of it out and I put brown sugar, sriracha, and then thickened it up with a little bit of cornstarch so it would glaze. Then after I poached the eggs, I put them on a cooling rack like for cookies. Let them like kind of dry on the outside, and then I just spooned the glaze over top when it was still wet.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I did, and this was what was kind of inspired by the Never Sleep Again burger. So I was thinking, at first I was gonna do like kind of a deconstructed version of that, and then I was like, well, like I'll just make it a meatball, and then I was like, and then it kind of turned into its own thing. But I was just like, well, let's infuse the coffee into the actual barbecue sauce. So I've made barbecue sauce. I've never made the ketchup from scratch before for barbecue sauce. So like,
So you cooked down tomatoes?
Yeah.
And actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up and it was like the whole house was like,
Dad's like, are you making barbecue sauce? I sure am. And then I poured a bunch of coffee in it. He's like, I'm getting out of here. I don't know what's going on. No. But yeah, it turned out really well. And then the Smoking Goose breakfast sausage and Fisher Farms beef makes a spicy meatball.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, it was a little bit spicy. That barbecue sauce, I love sweet barbecue sauce, and it was unlike any barbecue sauce I've ever had. It had I thought it kind of had like a mole, like that coffee, almost like chocolate taste to it. I thought it was fantastic.
what's the mole? That's the mole.
Yeah. No, it's like a sauce in like Mexican cooking. Sometimes it has like maybe cocoa and things like that, and it usually has a lot of different stuff in it. It's kind of a complex, whatever.
Okay. I got you. It was a great barbecue sauce, and I was like, man, like between you guys can make a whole like barbecue sauce like line, like for real. Like you guys can make a good tasty sauce.
Well, his name is the Sauce Boss.
Yep. And that was a Sauce Boss approved dish.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you making
Dyke
that
tested Sauce Boss approved.
I was like, oh, like Dyke's got legs to make some sauce. I thought it
he
was
can
only
make
Zach.
sauces, actually. Yeah.
I didn't know you were talented in that way.
Well, you learn something new every day. That's what I always say. And then with the conduit coffee, we did the Chinese braised pork belly with sticky rice, and that was really fun because we gotta have it two ways. And this was inspired by something I saw that Starbucks was doing in China for their New Year's, where they were putting this pork sauce into the coffee. And so I read on that. I think they did it on Bob and Tom, and I was watching Jess Hooker, friend of the show, was taking us through the recipe, and I was just like, I bet I can make a better version than that.
What was that called?
Dong Po Ro.
Oh, okay.
Was that right?
It's really good.
Yeah, I was searching desperate. Oh, Dong Do Ro. Sorry, not Po Ro. It was the best tasting dong I've ever had. I'll say that much.
That dong didn't do row, did it?
But yeah, so it's true. I don't know. Like my version wasn't definitely the classic version. It was because we added coffee to it, which is not necessarily part of it, and rum. There was coffee and rum.
You added rum into it?
Yeah, it was coffee and Diplomatico rum, and then it was sous vide with the rice wine and soy sauce and sugar.
I mean, that pork belly was very good. The sauce, the reduction was very good.
Yeah.
What was really interesting was the coffee drink. Because when you had talked about that, I was extremely skeptical. I don't know why, but like putting coffee in food makes me really skeptical. I was excited about the challenge of this menu, but everything was exceptional and turned out way not weird tasting. I thought everything was going to be like, that's a cool bite, but I wouldn't eat a lot of it. But no, everything was great. And that coffee drink was really good.
Well, the pork reduction is sweetened quite substantially. So my thinking was, as long as you filtered out any like particle, like if there wasn't like pork chunks in it, that it was just going to be a kind of a sweet whatever. And I was just like, that should blend with the coffee. But it did almost give a weird, like, not weird, but like a soupiness to it. I don't know.
I kind of liked the soupiness.
It was cool. Yeah, it was almost like brothy, or like it had that, like you were saying, it changed the mouthfeel of the coffee a little bit when we put the actual sauce in the coffee and tried it. It was really fun. Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because it's sometimes hard, when you're cooking with coffee. Coffee on its own can taste so different, and sometimes it's hard to pull out those flavors in each of those coffees in the dish, versus just having it taste like, oh yeah, this is coffee flavored, But anyway, yeah, I think it worked really well in that sauce. It was super fun. Yeah.
It definitely made me want to go more into because I sat with all 4 of the different coffees that we took and kind of smelled them and thought about them, and like it, I know that there's different flavors and all these things, but it definitely made me want to spend some time to like kind of get into them, and because there's a lot going on, and they are, when you're smelling them next to each other, they're significantly different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially it's tough too, like we were saying, cold brew, or like including the coffee in the sous vide, like how you brew is gonna affect what you're able to pull out. Maybe you're de-emphasizing the acidity or emphasizing the acidity. So
in general, like if you give a general rubric for like what heat brings out, what cold brings out, what does that do to the coffee bean? Like if I'm wanting more acidity, less acidity, smooth or whatever.
Heat's going to extract faster, so you're going to pull out more flavor. Especially if you're using like fresh hot water, like if you're using hot water, like you're brewing coffee, that's a really good solvent. That hot water is going to extract a lot. Whereas cold water, cold brew, that extraction period is just going to take a lot longer. So it's kind of hard. I mean, outside of,
but those two aren't going to be the same, right?
No,
like if I
different.
take a hot coffee, cool it down, and extract it cold, like those are different. Like
yeah, and it kind of speaks to one of the products that we have are the snap chilled cans. You probably had one at some point, but like we send coffee to this company, Snap Chill, in Green Bay. They brew the coffee hot in bulk, and then they crash chill it cold, and then they put it in a can.
And that does something specific, and that gives it a certain flavor.
Right. So the idea is that it's more like you're saying, I've brewed this coffee hot, and then
fresh
I'm
hot coffee
cold.
In cold brew.
I've got all of the flavors that I'm trying to bring out through a hot brew. I've kind of captured that into a cold format versus like our traditional cold brew, which is going to be more in the dark chocolate kind of molassesy, more just traditional base tones is what we would call it for cold brew. So yeah, there's lots of ways to play with the extraction in the brew and how you incorporate those flavors into food as well. So it's
What about that dessert?
I did a tiramisu. I used the Lima Pampa coffee. I made a cold brew out of that. And then I used some of the cold brew to make the cake, the sponge. I took that and then made a syrup out of the rest of the cold brew and soaked the sponges in it. And instead of mascarpone, I used goat cheese, whipped that up and sweetened it, put it between the layers and built a little cake and then had a little tweel on top. I also did some chocolate covered coffee beans.
That was wild.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Tiramisu for me can go like two ways. Like I can really enjoy it or I can really find it underwhelming.
I used to make it very regularly, and I got very good at making like traditional style. This is the only time I've not made a traditional tiramisu.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I mean, I make it like each year I make one for Elise, like for her birthday or whatever. But like I really wanted to try something different, and they didn't have mascarpone at the store.
Yeah, I think goat cheese is always the way to go from now on that.
Dude, for real. It was so damp. Like it was like you get moist cakes, but sometimes you just get a damp cake where you feel like you're biting into a sponge and the whatever the juices are splash out into the insides of your cheeks. And you're like, man, I'm doing something different right
So what
now.
you're saying is it's not in the wet category where it's coming out of the plate, but once it gets in your mouth, it's like a splash. It's like the appropriate amount. I actually like damp. Out of all the people don't like the word moist.
I love damp. Isn't there a damp cake? There's
a dump cake.
What is a dump cake? And be careful because the children are listening.
Well, it's where a bunch of people get together.
Okay.
2 dumps, 1 cake. You never seen that video?
I have not. No, but this is like why I say it's damp is like I feel like if I held it in my hand and I like threw it at someone but kept it in my hand, stuff would come out. You said the juices would have flown out into their eyes. That's how damp it was.
It's
I
a
liked
squirter.
it.
But it was great. I mean, there was nothing on the plate too. It was all in the cake.
It was all in the
just like
cake.
you're saying, it was like all absorbed in the cake perfectly.
Yeah.
And every bite, just kind of like dissolved in your mouth in a good way. It just kind of was
Perfectly.
great texture. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I was wondering, so the one thing I was unhappy about was I thought about doing the chocolate covered coffee beans after the fact. And, so I just tempered chocolate, tossed them in there, and then, put them on a wax paper. But do they do something to coffee beans usually to make them softer? I felt like they were, like when I get, they seem to break down more when I get them, like when I purchase them or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they've done something to the bean to soften it. It still crunches, but like not as
I almost
that one
warned
did.
you, when you told me it was Bouche right? That
Yeah.
So that's a lighter roast, so the bean is going to be
the roast.
gonna be
So
more
I
dense.
should have chosen a darker roast bean for that.
Ideally.
That makes all the sense in the world.
But
Yeah,
I don't think anybody like busted a tooth on it, so we're good, right? Yeah, it's all right.
Everybody's looking around. We all lost teeth today.
Nobody wanted to say anything, but yes, there were thousands of dollars of dental damage done in today's brunch.
Let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
This week on the After Brunch Podcast.
There's some really good huggers out there though.
I
man.
know.
Like where it's comfortable.
I mean, I
Wait, do you like a noisy hug or a silent
like
hug?
a oh.
What the fuck is that? A noisy hug?
I like a wet hug.
That's the title.
Join us at patreon.com/harderbrunch.
And we're back. We have had, this is the third time that you've been on. The first time
Oh, I forgot about that.
was a lost episode, which
When you were a nobody.
when only you and I will remember.
Yep.
But I brought a little fryer into the warehouse and we made beignets.
Yep.
And had beignets and coffee. And that was in late 2019. And you had a lot of plans. You had a lot of big plans.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, COVID happens. And then we had you on 2 years ago, and I think you were just about to open up the airport spot around that time.
Yeah.
Either just had or just about to open up. And now it's crazy when I whenever I fly out, I'm just Tinker is in the airport. I see my friends that are traveling, stopping in there and taking selfies and stuff like that. It's a bar, which is crazy too,
Yep.
just to see like people having cocktails being served by Tinker. I'm just like, I love every bit of it. And now you guys are down on Market Street. which is also amazing, in an old Starbucks place.
That's right.
So it's like a reverse gentrification. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's good to see the
earth is healing.
The earth is the earth is healing.
Now I do want to. You kind of breezed over something because I'm not aware of how the show used to go before we were here. So when he came to you and made beignets,
Yep.
and brought an entire fryer.
He had a fryer in the back of the car. Yeah, I remember that. And it was like, how do you like not take a turn and like spill
full of
fry oil everywhere? Yeah.
So he didn't.
I think maybe there was
He didn't
some
just
spillage.
fry them at his house and then bring a small container of fried donuts.
It was on site.
Yeah, that's why that's dedication to freshness. That's a wild thing to do.
That was a harder brunch.
I think I just realized that harder brunch is that you give the level of difficulty to yourself.
Yeah.
At fucking expert.
That's a Gwen Sunkel phrase. It's the harder brunch. Let's make brunch harder.
Well, and that was back when I was only doing one thing too. So it was just like, we're just doing beignets and coffee, which has always been a fantastic combination for me. And I don't remember why we did it that way. Oh, I didn't have anything in my mind. That was back when I had the scary empty house. And so like, it was like, yeah, I'll come to you. It's fine.
That's the one
It's
that
always
you
fun.
invited Bridget to.
Well, that's fine.
That was pre-fed.
But what I
Just
was
to specify.
what I
This
was
when
getting
you were
at is
living
that
there.
I'm always so excited to see this growth, and then every time, like again going back, I've known you since the very beginning, you know, and
Since you're a baby.
yeah.
Baby drinking coffee.
I've been watching you your whole life when you were in the crib.
No, at dad. At conception, I thought you told me. A little Steve is going to come out of that.
When you were an embryo, I was giving you coffee treatments.
Bouche, baby. With a needle.
But so I guess my question was, what's next on the horizon? What's the next mountain to climb?
So we're definitely like in cafe mode right now. You know, we have some things in the works that I'm not going to talk about, unfortunately, but it's exciting. So we have some cafe plans on the way.
Nice.
That'll be we'll be talking more about it in the next couple months. And then from there, you know, we're always looking for new spots. We're always looking for new places like around, you know, the city. We've kind of had some stops and starts on a few projects that look interesting, and sometimes things just prioritize differently. I mean, right now we're kind of on a tighter timeline for this next cafe project, so we'll be focused on that for a while, and it's going to be a pretty big challenge for us. But then we'll be looking for, you know, the next spot.
Oh, sorry.
So with the city growing, like how on top of it are you with the building plans? Like, hey, there's a soccer arena that's going to be going up here pretty soon. Like, we want to probably jump into that. Like, how efficient and aggressive are your staff for that?
Yeah, I mean, we get thought of, I think, when people are thinking about coffee, you know, opportunities in places like that. I think thankfully we're at a point now where we're able to, like, people know that we can handle a certain amount of volume.
Okay.
You know, we're able to support those things. So I think we do get a lot of ideas presented to us, which is good. But yeah, generally it's also just kind of, you know, networking, staying in touch with people around town so that they think about you when they're discussing projects. You know, that's really important for us.
Yeah.
And as the staff grows, you just have, you know, more people with more friendships that make more connections. And so it kind of, I mean, I think Indy's definitely a good place for that, where people think, you know, they want to support their friends and people that they can, you know, see grow alongside those cool projects just around town. I mean, like the Fishers, you know, Indy Fuel / indoor football stadium. Like, we had a conversation with them, you know, kind of early on, and about what's going to, you know, what the coffee situation is going to be like there, and maybe we'll be able to do something with them. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the soccer stadium's a great idea too. You know, we haven't had any conversations with anybody on that. So if anybody's listening that is part of that project and they're looking for a coffee shop or some sort of coffee presence there,
Yeah, you heard it here
holler at
first.
your boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, those are fun things to, you know. It's cool to think about places where coffee can be appreciated by people and be part of the fabric of the city and all that. So we love that.
What was that transition like from like? So I mean, when you started off roasting, and I know you do it like you've always done kind of like educational classes, and I feel like it's been a small group of people that are kind of producing and roasting the coffee. But then opening up in the airport and then opening up in Market Street, I mean, it's a full, it's a full service operation. What was that? Was that leap difficult or challenging? Like, because you're changing your business model, kind of. You're serving alcohol. You're doing all these different things that you guys weren't traditionally doing. Was that just the kind of obvious next course, and it just kind of like what was that experience like?
Yeah, it's like a whole new set of skills, exactly like you said. So once we started to get into the cafe side of the business, we knew we needed to find someone who is gonna kind of take ownership of cafes, take ownership of staffing and training, and just being a good steward of the cafes alongside the rest of the team. And yeah, I mean, Libby, who's our cafe manager, we hired her, and she's been amazing. Has done a great job building really great teams at all of the cafes. Airport's a little bit different. Airport is you work with an operating partner in airport situations, so that's not I'm there every week just supporting the staff there, but that staff is not hired by us.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a nuance with airport stuff. But so what my point is Libby's managing our company owned cafes. She's not responsible for airport, so that helps. I mean, it helps to we don't have these two giant cafes that we're also managing. That would be hard when we were just getting started on the cafe side of things.
Sure,
so it was helpful to have like a little bit of a liaison or someone to help you along the way with that. But yeah, I'm sure anybody would say this. It's all in hiring. Building the team around you. No matter how talented you are as a person, you can't do everything yourself as a business owner. You have to hire really great people that are able to go above and beyond and help take the business to the next level. So we've just done really well at hiring, I think, and finding really great people that have been, instrumental in growing the company. So that's the biggest thing.
I'll give you this compliment. I went into Market Street, and I kind of feel like a secret shopper when I'm in there, because I'm just like, any chance I have to promote Tinker, I'm all for it. But I walk in, I'm like, oh, nobody knows who I am, so I can see what's really going on in this. And it was like my first time going in there, experiencing, and the coffee. I mean, the standard is the coffee's going to be great. I know what I'm getting there. I came in there because I know it's going to be good. But now I'm kind of peeping out like everything else. Like, oh, this is Tinker serving me coffee now. Like, what's the service like? What's this? And you had the nicest staff. I mean, I feel like it's almost a rarity now. Like sometimes when you go out, like Zach and I talk about this all the time about how service has kind of gone away, or like hospitality is kind of, a lot of times we go, it's like, here's your bag, here's your thing, next, and I was like greeted very warmly when I went in, and it just seemed like a very honest and friendly service, and like and just being a regular customer coming in there, it was just like, oh, this is what everyone's getting. This is great. This is awesome. What you want to see.
Yeah, thank you. That's something that we really focus on. Yeah, because it's, I mean, there are lots of great roasters in Indy and throughout the country, but the ways you can differentiate yourself as a company are your approach to hospitality and how you make your customers feel. Because a lot, like I said, a lot of people have great coffee. A lot of people have great specialty drinks, whatever the case may be. But yeah, how you make people feel that's gonna take you to the next level.
I got jumped when I went in there by your staff, and I haven't been back since. But I'm assuming
he was waving guns like you're supposed to say.
You were.
He was on this. He said coffee.
Listen, Zach, I didn't have enough money that day.
You were naked and you had a lot of guns.
I was naked and I had guns.
More guns than hands.
And they started stopping me like, I'm from Harder Brunch, and like I don't think they heard. I'm not gonna blame your staff.
We filled them in. Everybody knows to expect you. Yeah, so it's all good from here.
Okay, thank you.
You're right.
We did have a sponsor early on think that Thad may have been involved in a crime.
That's one of my favorite.
You guys want to tell it real quick? Because
I want you to. So my.
Yeah, they're not our sponsor anymore.
My favorite thing is that, like, you tell the story the first time. So we had a sponsor that did CBD type products, and Thad went in to go like support the store and ask specifically about the Delta H.
Yeah, there's like
CBD.
Delta 8, there's different CBDs.
And specifically the day before, or maybe earlier that day, they had somebody come and rob them for all of their Delta 8. So then, so we, on recounting the story, Thad goes in there and then they get suspicious and then they, call Dyke and, just verify if this person actually does know Harder Brunch, because he had said that. And it almost sounds kind of like a racial profiling story. But then you hear his story. You hear Thad, and he goes in and he starts taking pictures of the place.
Well,
because he's going to do a social media post, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes up and is like, what about this Delta 8, Harder Brunch sent me?
Well, I didn't like...
And then wonders why. Now, and to my mind, they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Because to me, you just call the police at that point.
Yeah.
That seems like an easy choice. But then they called Dyke and said, hey, this guy is asking about our robbery products.
Well, they said I was taking pictures of their jukebox, which they had a cool jukebox.
So you were taking pictures of the jukebox. Why were you taking pictures of their jukebox? Why were you casing the joint?
Wait, why did they care about you taking pictures of the jukebox? Why was that?
They had just been robbed.
He's wrong.
They're really going to steal the jukebox.
Well, because I walk into the door and I could see that it's been shattered and
there's the outline of a person ran through the wall.
It's held up now by
go under
OSB,
police tape,
right?
A Kool-Aid man shaped hole.
And
I'll go take pictures of some shit.
Yeah,
not talk to the people first.
It's not illegal to take pictures, and you've done this before too. So I go over there and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Beatles jukebox. I like the Beatles. I'm watching their documentary at this time that just came out. I like took like a picture of that, and I'm like, oh. And then like I asked a lady, I was like, hey, you guys got any D8? And she's like, we were just robbed last night of D8. It's like, no more D8. Dang. I was like, go on for Harder Brunch.
That's a real shame.
Yeah. I will say, if you were trying to set up an alibi, that's exactly how I would do it.
Yeah, no.
Just walk in, I would like...
I am calling the cops every single time that happens. Absolutely.
Did they mention to you that I took pictures of the jukebox, or what happened?
You told the story.
This happened to Dyke, because I found out via Dyke.
They were just like, hey, you know a guy named Thaddaeus? And I was like, now I wish I would have been like, nope.
He robbed me of all my D8, tell you that much.
I hate that I'm on a watch list in the city. I'm trying to show love to Indianapolis. And y'all are calling the cops on me.
So I'm saying, if Thad ever shows up and starts asking about coffee and taking pictures.
Do you have any jukeboxes in here?
Not anymore.
Don't have cool jukeboxes if you're going to sponsor me, because I'm going to look weird.
Yeah, no, I've had that happen before. I would like when I was dropping off product to a place, I went in because I would always take a picture of the place I dropped off product, tag them in the social media post, yada, just visit my friends here. And there was a new manager there, and I had gone in, just took a selfie, dropped off the mustard, and left. And then he confronted me in the parking lot, because that is an objectively weird thing to do in somebody's shop.
Taking a picture?
Like, walk in and start photographing the place before you talk to any of them. Yes, absolutely.
I got in trouble at a Speedway gas station once. I forget why I was doing it, but there was something about... It was some sort of inside joke with coffee or something, and it was just like they had like a bunch of like I walked in the morning and they had a bunch of fresh pots going, and I had just taken out my phone and I just took a quick video of it, and like the manager came up to me, he's like, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And I was just like, "No, I'm fine." He's like, "I saw you recording. You were recording in the store," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just sending like a joke to my friend." And it was like, "You need to delete that. You can't record in here." And I was like, "You can't record our coffee," and I was like, Are you serious? And then like we had this big...
I'm gonna at Speedway here in a second.
And then we had this big altercation because I had like and I'm like, I don't know if they thought I was trying to steal proprietary.
I don't think they can actually make that rule though.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing I wanted to hash out.
Sure,
like, I was just like, okay, but like the guy waited for me to delete it in front and be like, yeah, here it's
like blocking the door, like you couldn't walk out. He was adamant about you deleting.
It was
man, I would have taken so many more pictures. I would have just started.
I've gone into other speedways since and taken photos just to see if somebody will come out. I was like, is this a store wide, like company wide thing, or?
He's like, my only job here is to make sure no one takes any photos.
That same guy appears out of nowhere out of a little trap door.
And it was specifically the coffee island in the middle, and I was just like, that can't be a rule. That had to have been just like some.
That's really interesting.
I feel like we always used to make up rules that were laws, so that like, oh no, you can't go here because of insurance laws, and it would that's just a thing you said. I don't know what that meant. Yeah,
because of insurance laws.
Sure, it's an insurance thing, right?
Yeah,
I was trying to think of like what you would be worried about somebody, because it wasn't like it was a mess and I was video, it was just like,
it could be specifically that guy didn't just assume that whatever was being taken a video of was going to end up as his supervisor. It was like, nah, fuck this. Yeah. Like he was doing something wrong. Maybe he shouldn't have been brewing all of the coffees at once or something.
Yeah, he was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I would love if Steve just opened up right now. I was like, we actually do have a no photo policy.
No, I mean, it would be weird if someone came in the roastery and just started taking pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be
Without
like,
a conversation.
Can I help you, sir?
And if you had just been robbed, and then they asked for the thing you had just been robbed of.
Yeah. Well, I also asked for a discount too. I was like, do I
See,
get
the
the
more
Harder
you
Brunch
hear the
discount?
story, the more you understand
But I
why.
didn't do anything wrong.
No. You just acted wrong.
I don't even think that. I think it was the path of totality. Like it was just lined up perfectly.
Well, I mean, you even got the best possible outcome. Like,
Not getting shot.
what? Well, yeah. No. How many times is somebody suspicious that you robbed somebody and then like phones a friend?
Yeah.
Well, she phoned the manager.
Sure.
Freaking out, and they
Anybody but
apologized.
the cops.
They apologized. Anyways.
Right.
are you guys doing anything special for the eclipse?
No.
No.
Well, I guess we have a special drink coming out for the day.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So that'll be fun.
What's it called?
I don't know if the name of it. I know
Moon in
it's
Front of the
gonna-
Sun.
It's gonna have activated charcoal in it. It's gonna be a dark beverage. Yeah. So it'll
Some
be fun.
charcoal.
Charcoal.
Do you dabble with a lot of charcoal?
Not really. No,
Okay.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
With coffee? I didn't even know that you could do that.
Yeah, like just activated charcoal powder. It shouldn't have any effect on taste. Just it'll turn the drink black.
If you drink charcoal in your coffee, you can stare directly at the sun too. You don't need.
Oh, I knew that. I already knew that.
Just drink it all in.
Duh.
Oh, you mentioned hospitality. I'm curious if you guys think about like places in town that have like really exceptional hospitality. Like if there are other places, because I was in Las Vegas for 311 Day last weekend, and we went to a couple of restaurants.
Are
and
you
I was
a
like,
big 311 fan?
I'm a big 311 fan. Yeah.
Okay.
And two of the restaurants we went to, I was like, I had two of the best servers that I've ever had in my entire life.
Where was it at?
So one was Evan Funky. Do you know him? He's got places out in LA. He's like a pasta guy.
Okay.
So his restaurant in Vegas is called Mother Wolf.
Okay.
And then we went to just a steakhouse called STK in the Cosmopolitan.
Is it in Old Vegas?
No, this is all on the Strip.
Okay.
Yeah, but the first one is in the Fountain Blue, which is a whole nother. If you want to get deep into that, if you're curious about what's going on in Vegas these days.
So I personally I think exceptional service. One, I don't think that the style of service anymore. It's almost like we've gone to a more casual style by and large. Like in fine dining and everything, like the ingredients and the techniques are all like top notch. But like. And I don't have to see a white linen on a table or whatever, but just some of the smaller service pieces. No, I don't think you get a lot of exceptional service anymore. So I do think it is kind of a rarity. I'm always excited to see a place that really focuses, because I can think of in my memory a couple of times where I've been blown away. And one of them was God damn it.
That's a weird restaurant.
Yeah. Up north, they make they have their own Wagyu beef or whatever that they do.
Anybody that we've been
Joseph
to?
DeQuee, yeah. And it was just a thing where the service was absolutely seamless. The things got dropped on the table at the same time. Like I remember my wife got up and went to the bathroom, and then the server came over, made small talk while she refolded her napkin and set it back down. And it was like a thing where you were at the same time, there was a lot of detail or attention to detail while you felt like it wasn't like stuffy, you know? So yeah, no, I'm super excited to hear about places that, you know, still do that kind of stuff.
When McNiven's, I used to work at McNiven's on Mass Ave, and there was just certain things, I think, because the owner came from kind of like, you know, corporate, like he came from like TJ Fridays and Rock Bottom and stuff like that. So there were certain hospitality things, I think, that came from the corporate world that, like, I have a lot of problems with big corporations, but sometimes, like, those little attention to details to make you stick out. Like, there was a thing where, like, before everyone had cell phones, if somebody came to eat by themselves, you'd offer them a newspaper. You know, it was just like little things. And there were there was like little points of service that were outside of just bringing you the food and the normal stuff like that. I would say I went to a place in Old Vegas that was like an Italian like steakhouse, and it was like white tuxedos and stuff, tableside Caesars, and I think part of Vegas's whole deal is exceptional service, you know,
showmanship.
And I went to a place, you know, I was in Columbus, and I went to a chain chicken restaurant for dinner last night. It was called Hot Chicken Takeover, and I was just like, I'd never heard of it, and I walked in, there wasn't really anybody in there, and everyone was just so nice and happy, and I got checked on by like multiple people. Everyone just seemed to be in a great man. It was like, it made me feel better. And I was just like, you know, trying to compare that if I'd gone into like a Taco Bell or something, you know, and I was just like, is this like because the attitude that was coming, I was like, this has to be like, this lady owns it, you know, like there's no way. And I was like, is this a chain? And she was like, oh yeah, it's a pretty big chain in Columbus. And I was like, oh. I was like, and
that's cool.
It was kind of blown away by, you know, and so it was like sometimes, just that friendliness or that welcomeness, you know, it's just like I think COVID, we lost a lot of that stuff.
I don't think we had it before COVID. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think so I think it's a thing where, okay, maybe it's like, so you look at the old stuffy style of like dinner side or like tableside service or whatever, and I feel like maybe there's some excesses to that. You don't have to have a whatever white tuxedo or white tablecloths for it to be good food or a good experience. So I think that when we went into like the chef with tattoos in the arms out in the, you know, visible to the, I feel like we got rid of like the baby with the bathwater. We got rid of all of the service side of it. And I don't think you realize how much how much a fresh set of clothes makes you have a better seeming personality sometimes, you know? I mean, you got to have the personality too, but like, I think it's just been so undervalued that when you do have those little things, like you were talking about with a newspaper, the little points of service, like the fact of when they come up to you and you feel it's genuine, that they want to make sure that you're having a decent time, and you know, that's huge. And I think it's so underdone, even in the best of the restaurants that I've gone to, like in the city, like two times in my life has service stood out in an Indiana restaurant.
Interesting.
Like,
and that's
I think there's a major opportunity there.
I think the key is ownership with hospitality. Like if you have ownership of your space, then it's gonna come out. If you're like, hey, I'm just here for a summer job, that's gonna come out. But like what you said is like, if someone's genuinely caring about me, and if someone's genuinely thinking, hey, what would be better is if we put like a newspaper here because they don't have cell phones. Like they're thinking ahead because it's their space. So I think that's the key.
Yeah. I know for me too, is I think I'm a lifelong service industry person. And so when I go out, it's not like now it's time to wow me, but it's like I get excited about giving good service. And then when I would go out, I would be excited about receiving it. And then sometimes you just sit down and it's just like, you sit down in a place sometimes and you feel like you're like a bother to them. You know, like you walk into a business and feel like you're putting them out in some way.
It's almost like those theme restaurants where they're supposed to make fun of you at the table, only they're just acting cool.
But it also goes from the top down too. You know what I'm saying? If you're owning a business and you don't really care about what people, you just care about the money, it's going to translate in your service as well.
Or if you think you know everything and that you're there to just tell your customer what to enjoy.
Exactly.
If you can't like let them enjoy the thing or, you know, give them the space for that.
Yeah, it's going to definitely come from the top down. And I think also just showing, like, you know, they're going to push, like, hey, I care about this. I care about people. And so if you see it happen over and over again, like, oh, you picked up a fork, wiped it off on your pants and put it back on the table. Like, if you've seen this 3 times, hopefully that owner or whoever is pushing that business is going to call that out until, like, that's eradicated.
Yeah, it has to be, like, culturally, like, everybody has to kind of buy into the culture of that service.
Yes. Yeah.
And it also has to be, I think, like the point's been made already about like how it has to kind of feel like natural, or maybe we're in a period now where like natural but elevated hospitality is really the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want someone to like come and like refill my water every 2 seconds. I don't want to be like over attended to. Like let me chill, but also like be friendly and also on point with like the example of, you know, folding the napkin. Like you can talk with me like we're friends, kind of keep it, you know,
and you're still getting the thing done.
But then like if I go to the bathroom, like now I've been like wowed by this extra service element. Like that is a really good,
I think about it,
lowbrow, but a good combo.
I think about it like this: like the guest shouldn't know that there's a checklist. But if the guest found a checklist like in the server station and it was like this detailed checklist, they'd be like, that makes sense. That's why they're so on top of it.
That's why I got the massage.
Yeah, that's why I got the penis massage at the end.
I did it. I was talking about the back.
Oh, well, you went to the wrong place.
The back of the penis.
The back of the penis.
Man, we almost got to an entire episode without dropping the penis bomb.
We're so close.
So close.
There's a checklist like, hey, one of our sponsors is coming on.
Yeah.
Let's be on their best behavior.
We have our own checklist of things that we have to get done.
And you did not get a massage. We can say that for.
It's not too late.
Oh yeah, and you were drinking this wonderful Upland Dragonfly IPA.
It's delicious. It's hitting.
Speaking of checklists.
You just shoehorn in the sponsor at the very end.
Wow.
It's a sponsorception, you know. Tinker drinking Upland, eating
Tinker.
smoking goose.
Ooh, this is like a different timeline.
You could drop the.
Yeah. You liked it though.
I loved it.
Listen, we want to treat all of our sponsors with the utmost respect. And I'm glad you like that drink. I'm done.
Where can people follow Tinker Coffee online?
Online, Tinker Coffee through most social channels, Tinker Coffee Co. on X. But yeah, tinkercoffee.com. We just got a new website. Check it out.
Nice. Daddy's Jake.
You can find me at massage tables. I would go and massage people at their tables, their shoulders, or at Thad Mckee on Instagram.
Zach Rowe.
You don't forget another sponsor, Culinary Crossroads, for the plug after the plug.
At Dyke Michaels across all social media. Thank you guys for listening. Stick around. We have a Patreon episode coming up. Only $3 to get instant access to our exclusive Patreon library. Hundreds and hundreds of episodes going back 4 years. And man, the stuff Zach says on those episodes
will curl your penis.
Yeah, there it is.
We'll see you next time. That's 5 penises. We gotta go.
We gotta go. Sorry, guys.
Bye.